You may.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Are you aware that Dominique Jones spoke to Mrs. Rudolph just before this homicide?
No, ma'am. Or no, sir.
You're not aware of that?
Before?
Yes, ma'am.
No.
You're not aware that
Oh,
Dominique Jones...
I'm sorry. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Pardon me.
How do you know that?
The phone records.
Did you ask Dominique Jones what she told Miss Linda Rudolph on the phone?
No.
And you're talking phone records only from Dominique Jones, the one you know erased phone messages, right? Same Dominique Jones, right?
The previously discussed single text message, yes, sir.
You don't know that. You're not a phone expert. You can't tell this jury she erased other stuff, can you?
I'm not an expert. You're correct.
You have no clue what she erased, do you? Other than the one she confessed to when you had her brother's phone, right?
I suppose, yes, sir.
Never tried to get Mrs. Linda Rudolph's phone to see what the real text messages were, did you, ma'am?
No, sir.
Speaking of Linda Rudolph, isn't it true that she said before she wants a lawyer before she makes a statement to you?
Yes, sir.
People can do that, right?
Absolutely.
And she also told you that it was self-defense, didn't she, ma'am?
Sustained.
Well, you said yesterday you had no information other than what these young men told you. That's not really true, is it, ma'am?
It's true, sir.
So despite what Linda Rudolph told you, that's not contrary to what you knew?
Making a simple statement such as that is not information which would lead me to have probable cause or cause at all to believe that there's further evidence that needed to be searched.
You ignored what Ms. Rudolph told you, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Your probable cause means you just have to write a report that someone probably did something, right? Based on your report that you write.
I
what
wouldn't
it
say
is?
that's what probable cause is, sir. No.
You disagree that probable cause is not a report that you write under oath, and you include whatever you think is important, and that's what you base your arrest on, what you believe is probable cause, your opinion.
Well, the first thing you said, sir, was that it's a report of something that somebody probably did. I disagree with that. It's based on evidence.
Doesn't probable cause mean probably, possibly, probably, or you disagree? It means definitely.
I didn't say it means definitely, but I wouldn't say it's probably. It's based off of evidence.
Well, it's based on the evidence you want to include. You're the one who's the author of that report, right?
Sustained. It's argumentative. Next
Who
question.
writes your report?
I wrote my report, sir.
Okay. And that's completely different than beyond a reasonable doubt, isn't it?
Absolutely.
There's plenty of reasons why somebody wouldn't talk to you as a police officer, isn't there?
I'm sure there is.
You just arrested Mr. Rudolph's son. The moment he came out of the house, he was arrested, right?
No, sir.
Put in handcuffs?
He was detained.
Oh, detained. Was he allowed to leave?
Absolutely not, because he was detained, sir.
Put in a police car?
Yes, sir.
Hands
Because he was
behind his
detained.
back with handcuffs?
Yes, sir.
And you don't call that an arrest?
No, sir.
Well, you don't know how Miss Rudolph felt, did you?
No, sir.
You have no idea if she thought you were the best detective in the world or the worst detective in the world. You have no idea what was going through her mind, do you?
You're absolutely correct.
You could have got a subpoena the next day, 2 days later, a month later, 6 months later, and compelled her to come in and give you a statement, couldn't you, ma'am?
I wouldn't do that in this situation.
I didn't ask if you would do it. I said, couldn't you?
Physically, could I? Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Not physically. That's what detectives do. People who aren't cooperative, you get subpoenas to find out what they know, and you compel them, just like we bring people into court under subpoena. You could do that too, can't you?
I can, but it's based off of what we think is best, and I do not think that would be best in that situation.
You didn't want to be best because it might contradict what you did, and you didn't want to be wrong, right?
Absolutely not, sir.
Darryl Rudolph. Same thing. He didn't trust you, did he?
You would have to ask Daryl Rudolph, sir.
Okay, well, we'll do that later, but I'm asking you. You don't know?
I'm not going to speculate as to what Daryl Rudolph feels.
He didn't want to talk to you either, did he?
No, he did not.
Right? He said, I want a lawyer before I talk to you. Right?
Yes, sir.
You're allowed to lie to people, aren't you? As a
I
detective.
am. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're trained to lie to get answers from people, right?
Well, I'm not trained to violate their rights, so.
Well, not violate their rights in terms of whether they have a lawyer or not. I'm asking you if you can lie to people and say, oh, I have got Johnny in this back room here, your partner, and he just told me you were at the 7-Eleven as the getaway driver, and that may not even be true at all. You can say something like that to get someone to admit something to you, right?
I can, yes, sir.
Yeah, and you're trained to do that.
Yes, sir.
Same way you're trained to look at jurors when you give answers instead of looking at me. You're trained to do that, right?
I feel more comfortable speaking to the person that I'm addressing, so that's why I do it.
All right, were you trained to do that is my question?
I wouldn't say trained.
Okay, so none of the courses tell you when you're in a jury trial, make sure you're making eye contact with everybody. No?
Not necessarily, no, sir.
I'm not asking you necessarily. I'm asking you, are you trained to do that?
I have never taken a course where I was instructed to look at the jury as I speak to them.
Okay. You didn't get a subpoena for Mr. Rudolph, Daryl Rudolph, to talk to him either, did you?
Absolutely not, sir, no.
Okay, that's another absolute.
You're right.
Yep. You didn't want to know what he had to say, right?
That's false.
What he wanted to have to say, you could have easily subpoenaed him an hour, 10 hours, a week later, a year later. Isn't that correct, ma'am? It's very simple. Hey, Miss Prosecutor, Mr. Prosecutor, give me a subpoena. I'm bringing this person in. Right?
I could have, yes.
All right, and that would be recorded.
It would have been, correct.
Sure, under oath.
Yes, sir.
Usually a prosecutor present, right?
Absolutely.
All right, not just you.
Correct.
And the person could bring their lawyer with them.
They could.
And everything would be legit on the record. No ifs, ands, or buts about that, right?
Hypothetically, yes, sir.
Well, not hypothetically. That's the way you do things as a detective in homicide or any major cases, right?
Well, you're discussing a hypothetical situation, so this would be hypothetical, yes, sir.
Okay, but that's the way it works, that the prosecutor would be there, you would be there, possibly a court reporter or somebody recording it, right?
That's absolutely how that works, yes, sir.
And that person can bring a lawyer with them to make sure you're not playing games with them, right?
They most certainly can, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you expect Miss Linda Rudolph just to call you on the phone? The lady who arrested her own son and charged him with murder and say, hey, I want to talk to you. Do you expect her to do that a week later or a month later?
I don't expect anybody to do anything, sir.
Okay. Did you expect Mr. Daryl Rudolph to do that with you?
I don't expect anybody to do anything, sir.
When you're talking to people, you could record them or not. That's your option, right?
I can.
And you expect people to trust you?
Yes.
Okay. You don't have body cams, do you?
At the time, we did not.
Well, you have one now?
It has not been issued to me yet, but our agency does, yes, sir.
All right, so let's talk about the 21st of, April 6th or April 7th of 2021. I think you just said it. I'll make sure I'm clear. You did not have a body cam.
Correct. On that date, I did not have a body cam.
And today you don't have one either.
It has not yet been issued to me, sir.
And if you had a body cam, whether you had a tape recorder or not, or whether you lied or not, that would all be recorded, right?
In theory, yes.
In theory, if you turned it on, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you could also not turn it on, and the jury would never know what really happened, other than what you're claiming happened if it wasn't recorded, right?
Objection, Judge calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Well, if you don't have a body cam, and you don't have a recorder, and you're the only person talking to a witness, it's only your recitation of what they said that we would have to go off of, right?
Objection, this is not relevant, Judge. All the statements were recorded.
Overruled. Go ahead. Answer
correct?
the question, please.
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Yeah. If you don't have a body cam, and you don't put a recorder on, then if a witness is talking to you, and you don't turn the recorder on, or you don't have one, then what you claim that person said is really the only evidence we would have of what they said, right?
Well, I'm perfectly privileged to speak to somebody without recording, but that's correct. If there is no recording device, then it would not be recorded.
You're perfectly privileged. What does that mean, ma'am?
It means that I have the ability to speak to people without it being recorded.
Why would you do that in a homicide case? Talk to someone and not record what they have to say. What logical reason would any human being do that to another human being?
Well, we don't just constantly record ourselves. I mean, I suppose with body cams now, that's not exactly a true statement, but at the time we didn't have body cams, and we don't just turn the recorder on and record every single second of every single thing. I didn't take a statement that was not recorded. I spoke to her, is what I'm saying, and it was not recorded.
I didn't ask you that. My question, you made the statement. You're privileged to do that.
Yes.
Then I'm asking you, why in the world would you ever do that? That's all I'm asking you. I'm not asking what you did in this case. I'm asking what you do. Why would you do that?
Sustained.
And you think that's good police work, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you think you're the judge and the jury out there on the street?
Most certainly not, sir.
You never even asked Dominique Jones if she hit Mr. Rudolph with a trophy or a bottle in his head, did you?
I did not ask that question, no, sir.
Did she ever tell you she threw a bottle at him?
I don't believe so.
Did she ever tell you about a girl named Kyla? Dominique Jones, did she mention someone named Kyla?
She didn't mention that specific name. I saw it in Mr. Rudolph's records, though.
All right, she never told you how when Mr. Rudolph left the home, she snuck into his phone and saw he was talking to other women, and she was upset about that.
She did say that, but she never mentioned the name Kyla.
All right, did she tell you that she made Mr. Rudolph talk to this girl named Kyla on a FaceTime chat so she can see what their relationship was?
I can't recall if she said that specifically, but she did say that she was upset about communication he was having with another female.
Did you ask her how she supports herself?
I did not.
You have no idea if she was hanging on to Mr. Rudolph because she was thinking about maybe he's going to get an NFL contract again and she's going to hit the lottery, right? You don't know that.
You're right, I don't know that.
You never asked her anything about her relationship with Travis at all, did you?
Aside from the romantic nature of it, no, sir.
Okay. Did she ever tell you for 30 days, roughly, right before the day of this happened, she didn't see him and she was upset he was in Miami on a regular basis?
I saw that in the text messages, but we didn't speak about that.
And you never went back to talk to her about it when you see it in the text message?
No, sir.
Doesn't concern you, right?
I wouldn't say it doesn't concern me, but I did not talk about that with her, no.
You didn't talk about a single text message after you saw them. You didn't talk to her about a single internet search, web history after you received them. You never went back and spoke to her about any of those, did you, ma'am?
No, sir.
You found out that Dominique Jones made calls to someone named Tyranny Coleman, right?
I saw the text messages.
Made calls to her too? Well, you don't know.
She may have. I don't remember the call records off the top of my head.
Talk to her about why she did that?
No.
You know that she made threats that she's sending her brothers over to kill Mr. Rudolph?
Objection to facts not in evidence.
Do you know that?
Overruled.
I saw the text message conversation where the opposite's occurring, sir.
Right, but did she tell you she made phone calls at all saying she's making threats, sending her brothers over to kill her brother?
Phone calls we didn't discuss, no, sir.
How do you know she didn't erase part of the message and only showed you the message where Tyranny Coleman is sending him back, that if she doesn't cut this out, her brothers are going to get killed if they do this? How do you know she didn't erase her messages?
Hypothetically, I don't know that.
Hypothetically, I'm asking you as you sit there under oath, do you know that?
I don't know whether your hypothetical text messages have been deleted,
Not
is
mine,
what I'm saying.
hers, the one she sent.
Yes.
You don't know.
You're right.
No clue what she was texting and what she wanted you to see because you didn't take her phone as soon as you had an opportunity to, right?
No, sir.
And that's good police work in your mind.
Yes, sir.
Okay? You told Tyler Robinson when you talked to him around the 8th that there's cameras at the Rudolph residence, right?
I'm not sure if I informed him that there are cameras at the residence.
You sure did. You don't remember that?
I don't remember informing him of that.
Okay. Do you know why he had a memory lapse when he came to his deposition after you spoke to him and he couldn't remember anything about what happened at the front of the house?
You would have to ask him, sir. I'm not going to speculate.
I did, and he told me you told him about the cameras. And
Objection.
What's the legal?
Not in evidence.
I honestly don't recall. So, is that in evidence somewhere in this trial?
I believe so, but I can't swear to it.
All right, if you can't, then it's sustained.
It was obvious there was cameras in front of the Rudolph residence even when you got there, right?
Yes, sir.
You couldn't tell if they were on or off when you got there, could you?
No.
Remember seeing any kind of red lights on the cameras when you're outside?
I don't recall, sir.
Remember seeing any kind of lights that would show a pedestrian is walking by the home that the cameras are working?
I don't recall seeing lights specifically, but I do remember seeing the cameras.
All right. When you say you don't recall seeing it specifically, can you say there was or wasn't, or you don't know?
Well, I said I can't recall if I saw the lights specifically.
Well, maybe they're there, maybe they're not.
Correct.
Maybe they're on, maybe they weren't. You don't know.
Well, at this time, I know.
You know the outside cameras, whether they lit up if somebody came in view of the camera?
No, I know that the camera was on.
That's not what I was asking. I was asking you if a person comes up to their home, if you knew, because you were there. I was asking if you could see the red light or any kind of blue light coming on the camera screen.
Well, this is the third time you're asking me that, and I said I don't recall whether I could see a red light or not.
That wasn't important to you, right?
Nothing is not important to me, like I said yesterday.
It's important. Why didn't you look at that and put that in your report?
That wasn't something that I specifically noted, sir.
Okay. Well, you think it'll be important if someone's casing out a joint before they go do what they're going to do?
Absolutely.
Nothing in your report about that anyone passed by the house of Mr. Rudolph and did a drive-by, not shooting, but a drive-by looking at the house first.
Well, that's because I didn't have any evidence of that.
Okay. And if you don't ask the questions, you're not going to have evidence of anything, will you?
Well, not all evidence is based off of questions, so.
Especially not a 10-minute interview, right?
Sustained.
You found out everything you needed to know in 10 minutes from Keyshawn Jones, right?
Absolutely not.
You never went on tape with him once since April 7th of 2021. You never took another tape interview ever again, right?
You're correct.
Okay. That's good police work, right?
I believe I do good police work, regardless of how many times he asks me that question.
I'm asking you on that, just taking one statement for 10 minutes of a key witness, that's good police work in your mind, right?
Well, based off of the quality of the information that I received, I don't base my interviews off of how long they are. I base it off of the information that I receive. So I believe I did a fine job with that, sir.
So the quality, you did a fine job. So let's talk about that. Are you a polygrapher?
Were you what? I couldn't understand.
A polygrapher, someone that does polygraph tests.
Oh, polygrapher.
Pardon me.
Judge, objection to the reference to polygraphs. They're not-
What's the legal objection? Well, I understand that, but what's the legal objection?
Judge, one, it wouldn't be admissible information, and two, it's irrelevant.
That information is admissible, so you may overruled answer the question.
I am not.
You do polygraphs. Go ahead.
Sorry, Your Honor.
No, go ahead.
I am not a polygrapher.
You do voice stress analysis.
I do not.
So you could determine the quality of someone's information based on all your training and experience, or do you have some superpowers to do that?
I know the quality of the questions that I ask, and I know that he answered the questions that I asked.
And you can tell that he's being honest and forthright, and everyone else was, right? You're vouching for the credibility of your witnesses, right, ma'am?
Oh, absolutely not. No, sir.
You said the quality was, I can tell. I can tell the quality, right?
What I said was that I can tell the quality of my questions, and he was cooperative and answered my questions.
That means he's truthful?
No.
How about the pockets I showed you on the video that you never looked at until the courtroom? You got any superpowers that you could look through those pockets and tell this jury definitively there's no gun in those pockets? Of Mr. Lowe and Mr. Sebastian Jean-Jacques?
Well, I never said that I just looked at them when you showed them to me yesterday. What I said was I couldn't determine based off of looking at those images that there was definitely or even probably a gun in their pockets.
You said yesterday something that would be crazy for anyone to think there was a gun in the pocket. You don't remember that?
I never said that, sir.
Well, you don't have any superpowers that you could look through that video or their pockets and tell us there's no gun in there, do you?
I have no superpowers at all.
I took your deposition back in, you have any idea why I take your deposition back in September 30th? Do you understand why I'm doing it, or you have no idea?
Because you're privileged to ask me questions. If there's anything that you feel you don't have information on that you would like, you can ask me that.
Okay. And you talked about civil rights. Don't you think it would be fair for someone you accuse of a crime to know all the information that you gathered so I can figure out what the heck happened here?
I don't know what you're referring to with civil rights.
You mentioned the word civil rights. That was your words yesterday, remember?
Did I? I don't recall specifically.
All right, well, I'll move on. When I took your deposition back in September 30th, 2021, I asked you where Mr. Robinson's medical records were so I could see what really happened to him from the doctor's perspective. You didn't have them, did you?
At the time, no.
You didn't have them until recently this year, right?
You're absolutely right.
After I took his deposition, right?
Yes, sir.
After this case gets set for trial, then you get them, right?
Unfortunately, in this situation, yes.
That's fair too, right?
Well, it has nothing to do with being fair or not. That's just what happened.
Because that was your choice, not my choice, right? Your choice.
Well, unfortunately, I thought we had those records, and as soon as I realized that we didn't, I wrote a search warrant for those records and received them.
So it took you 2 years to realize you didn't have them? You didn't realize it at the deposition that I told you I don't have them?
I knew we didn't have them at the deposition, but I was under the impression that we obtained them afterward, and when I found out that we hadn't, I immediately wrote a search warrant and got the records.
When did you write the search warrant, ma'am?
I know it was this year. Would you like me to look up the exact date?
All right, sometime in 2023, right?
Yes, it was this year.
Okay. You ever ask Keyshawn Jones why he had a hoodie on that night?
And no, I didn't.
You ever ask him why he was rubbing his hand beneath his sweatshirt?
I did not.
Did you see that?
I saw his hand in his pocket.
You didn't see him rubbing it under the sweatshirt, on his belly?
I suppose he was rubbing it on his belly. I don't know. I saw his hand in his sweatshirt.
You never asked him about that, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay. You can't tell. You have no powers to tell or superpowers to tell he wasn't carrying a gun that night, right?
You're right. I don't have any superpowers.
There's no way you would know if he had a gun that night with him, right? Other than he told you it was left at home, right?
Based off of that image alone, absolutely not. That doesn't tell me that he had a firearm with him.
You didn't know Travis Rudolph's screen was broken and his phone was broken?
I saw that the screen was broken.
Did you turn the phone on to see if you could see the screen?
No, I certainly didn't turn on a phone that I have no business going into. No, sir.
Oh, come on. You guys don't actually go in the phone, but you can actually see if the phone is working, just like they did in DJ's room and said, I'm not taking that one because it wasn't on. You can tell if the phone is on or not.
I'm not going to molest a phone and turn it on when I don't have any business going into the phone or manipulating the phone. No, sir.
You would agree you can't tell this jury that the screen on his phone was broken and he couldn't see any images or get any images on there. You don't know because you didn't look.
I know I did say that I am aware that it was cracked, but I'm not going to manipulate his phone by powering it on to see that.
So you have to power a phone on when you pick it up, and you can't just press the screen and see if it works?
If it's not on, then I would have to turn it on.
You know if it was on or not?
I don't believe it was on at that time.
How do you know it was on? How do you know it was not on and the screen wasn't working? How do you know?
I suppose I wouldn't know that, sir.
Okay. So you don't know if Mr. Rudolph took those pictures of his injuries or his family took those, do you?
The pictures that were taken after the incident?
Yeah, the ones that the prosecutor showed you. Say, look at Mr. Rudolph's phone, and you're saying they're selfies, right? You don't know if they're selfies.
I don't know if they're selfies or not. What I know is that they're images taken on his phone after the homicide.
You don't know they were taken on his phone. You don't know if they were sent to him by somebody. You have no idea, do you, ma'am?
Well, that's incorrect.
All right, how do you prove to this jury that he took those pictures with a broken phone? How do you prove that?
If you look at the records, it shows the path as to where the images were from.
What does that mean, path?
So the records themselves are in table format, and it tells you what the source is of the images.
expert in any way, shape, or form, are you?
Not an expert, no, sir.
But you can identify phones that it's the same phone from a few days later, you told us, right? You can look at it and say, that's the same phone I saw 5 days ago.
Well,
Well, overruled.
You can do that, right?
Examination.
I couldn't say it was the exact same phone. What I said was that when I saw the phone, it was consistent with the same phone that I saw the day before.
That's not what you said yesterday.
I never said that I can identify a phone and definitively say it's the exact same phone without looking at the number. No, sir.
That would be ridiculous, right? Say that.
To say that, yes, sir, it would be ridiculous.
All right, so I'm looking at this exhibit, and I'll show it to you in a minute, 55C. I approach the witness.
You may.
Explain to this jury how you can tell these pictures emanated or started from his phone as opposed to somebody sending them in case he needed them down the road when you make a false arrest in their mind.
It is sustained.
I'll rephrase the question.
Please do.
You said you can look at those pictures, and you can look at those records, and you can tell this jury that they started from his phone. The camera took those pictures from his phone. Prove that to us, ma'am.
I'm going to explain it because I can't show it to you specifically, but there is a portion in here. I'm sorry you can't see it, but this row here has a lot of information in it. One of those being source file, which is it's a bunch of information, but it says private mobile library where it's coming from.
Private.
So if it comes from the private mobile library,
Private mobile library doesn't say that he took the pictures from that phone. It could be somebody text messaging him. Isn't that true?
well, it's his private mobile library, sir.
You don't know that, do you?
That's the information that I see in there, sir.
No clue. How did they all get taken pretty much at the exact same times? You told us yesterday the exact same times to the second. Almost every one of those pictures were taken at the exact same time. How is that humanly possible?
Well, they're taken within seconds of each other, sir.
Well, don't look at it. You said yesterday a lot of them were at the exact same time.
Okay.
You disagree with that?
Not necessarily, no, sir.
Look at it if you want to refresh your memory for what you said yesterday. I heard at least multiple ones. You had the minute, the hour, and the seconds, and multiple pictures were taken exactly at the same time. Separate pictures.
I don't see the capture times being the same time, sir.
None of them?
I'm not seeing it to the second.
All right, tell us the first one. You did it yesterday. Tell us the time of the first one.
1:30 and 53 seconds in the morning. The next one is 1:31 and 2 seconds in the morning. This image.
Hold on, I'm sorry. The first one was 1:31 what?
1:30 and 53.
Okay, how much later was the second one then, approximately?
I'm not going to sit here and do math, sir. I'm very bad at math. I don't know.
All right.
But it's not the exact same time is what I can say.
Well, I'm just trying to figure this out. You're going too fast for me. 1:53 what? 1:50 what was the first one?
No.
Tell me the first one.
Say it again slowly, please.
Yes, Your Honor. 1:30 and 53 seconds in the morning.
Why don't you blow those pictures up so we can see them? Why didn't you do that so the jury can see those?
I didn't think that I needed to do that.
Why, you didn't want to see Travis Rudolph's injuries?
That's not correct, sir.
You could have blown those up, right?
I could have, yes.
Okay. 1:30:53. What's the next one, please?
(1:31:02).
Okay, so that's about 7 seconds later. You disagree with that?
I suppose,
Maybe my math's
yes.
off, but that's what I get, 7 seconds.
I'm sure.
Okay, next one.
1:31:12.
Okay, 10 seconds later. Next one.
1:31:19.
7 more seconds. Next one.
131.25,
6 seconds. Next one.
131.30,
5 seconds. Next one.
and 131.34.
4 more seconds. Okay, so you can't tell this jury if someone in Mr. Rudolph's family took the picture from their phone and sent it to him. In case there was ever an issue in this case, they'd be proof that he had injuries because no one else took pictures but his family. Right?
Can you repeat what you're asking me?
Make it easy. You can't tell this jury someone in his family didn't take those pictures for him, did you? Can you?
Well, I can't say who physically held the phone and took the pictures. No, sir.
You can't swear under oath, or maybe you will, that someone in his family send Travis the pictures to his phone so they'd be in there forever.
Well, based on the information that I'm looking at, and I could always be wrong, but from what I'm seeing in here, it says that it comes from the private mobile library.
All right, so private mobile library, you have any type of training to tell us what private mobile library means?
I'm not going to go over definitions. I'm not an expert, you're right.
So can you tell this jury under oath what private library means?
Well, I'm not going to go over definitions because I'm not an expert.
So you can't. Would you agree you can't tell if those pictures were sent to him by someone in his family for whatever reason, or they were taken from that particular phone? You don't know that, do you?
Based on the information that I see in the records, it would appear that they came from his private mobile library.
I'm asking you up here. I'm asking you to make a definite statement under oath. Are you making a definite statement under his oath that those pictures started or were taken with his broken phone?
I'm not going to make a definite statement over oath, like I just said. I could be wrong, but from the information that I'm seeing here, as not an expert, but someone who has been trained to look at that information, that is what I'm getting from it.
So it's a guess, right?
No.
So it's definite or possibly?
I have said numerous times that it's not definite. I could always be wrong.
Don't you think that's an important issue since y'all came in here in direct examination trying to insinuate that the phone was really working?
Sustained.
Don't you think it's important when you testify in direct examination under oath, the members of Palm Beach County, a jury, that these pictures were taken from his phone, and that was your statement? Don't you think it's important to find out the answer before you make a statement that may implicate someone in doing something? Hey, maybe the phone's not an issue, but I'm just asking why you make a statement like that if you don't know the answer.
What I said was, I'm not going to say that it's definite, but from my understanding of that information as not an expert, but somebody who has been trained in basic information and looking at phones, that is the information that I receive.
There's nothing on there that says that phone took. Travis Rudolph's phone that was examined is the phone that actually, or the camera that took the pictures that are on here, right?
And those words are most certainly not on that paper.
There's nothing in code that says that either way, right?
Well, I believe I've said a few times now it says native mobile library.
Why do you think somebody would take pictures of all injuries? Do you have any idea?
And there are many reasons.
You have nothing recorded other than the doorbell cam of what happened in front of the Rudolph residence, right?
Correct.
And other than the video that shows Tyler Robinson, Linda Rudolph, Travis coming out of the house and falling with his firearm, and maybe one or two other people on the street, there's no other video of what happened, right? In terms of that we can see clearly.
There is other video, but are you referring specifically to the ring video?
No, I'm referring to clear things that we could see. Let me ask a simple question. The Nash videos, we'll call them that. That was Mr. Nash, right?
Yes, sir.
Those videos aren't clear about what really happened, are they?
I feel that they're clear. I agree that you can't see faces and I can't see guns specifically inside the vehicle, but you can certainly see what's going on.
You can't even see if Tyler Robinson got into the car or not from the back seat, can you?
We spoke about this during the depot. It looked to me like he got into the car.
I'm asking you here on the oath today, not a deposition. I'm asking you today. You're telling this jury he got in the back of that car?
Well, I was under oath back then too, sir, and I said it appears to me that he got into the car
Where do you see that?
in Mr. Nash's video.
All right. Well, prosecutor will get a chance to redirect you, and the jury saw the video.
Sure.
Is there anything else other than that shows you he got in the car?
Anything aside from the video? No, sir.
You see the back door opening, the left back door behind the driver's seat?
The left back door behind the driver's seat. Well, that's not the door he came out of.
Okay. So what door did he go in?
I don't know exactly which door he came in.
You said you saw him go in the car. So what door did he go in?
Said that I saw the door was closed.
No. A few seconds ago, I asked you a question. You said Tyler Robinson got in the car. I could see him getting in the car before the shooting. You just said that. What door did he get in, ma'am? Tell us.
I know he came out of the rear passenger side door. I can't recall exactly which door he went into.
You just said under oath he did it. He came and went in the car. So you don't know? You made a statement that you don't know what you're talking about?
You know, he went in the car. I saw him come out of the car.
Where did he go in the car? What door?
I don't know.
Why'd you say you saw him go in the car in the video?
Because I see 4 entities enter the video, or enter the car rather.
Okay, where did the 4 entities enter the car, ma'am?
I can only base it off of the information that I received after that, sir. You're correct that I cannot see the faces of the people entering the vehicle.
All right. Well, you absolutely told this jury you saw him go in the car, so you can't answer that question today, right? From the video.
I cannot see his face and specify it's him entering the vehicle, you're right.
Well, what door did everyone go in, the entities as you call them? What doors did they go in?
Well, I said I can't see their faces. I saw 4 people. 4 people arrived. 4 people got in the vehicle initially, but I can't tell exactly which faces, so I can't tell you exactly which doors they went into.
I'm not asking you the names or the faces. I'm asking you what doors opened up, since you saw everything so well.
That's not what you asked me. You asked me who went into which doors, and I said that I can't say that.
Well, you said you saw Mr. Robinson go in the car, so I'm trying to figure out where everybody got in, since you see better than me, and I want to know where it was.
I saw 4 people exit the vehicle. I saw 4 people enter the vehicle again, and then I saw Mr. Robinson exiting the vehicle from the rear passenger side door.
All right, so you know the doors. There's a driver's door, front passenger door, a back rear door behind the driver, and a back rear door behind the passenger. I'm not asking you the names. I'm not asking you the faces. Tell me what doors opened up right before the shooting. And how many people got in each door?
I can't say that.
And how do you know 4 people got in?
Because that's what I saw in the video.
What doors they go in then? I can't see it. Maybe you see something I can't, so I'm just asking you to help me.
Well, again, I said I can't say who went into each door.
All right, can you tell us any doors that open, ma'am?
I'm not going to say which doors open and which doors didn't open. I saw 4 entities go back to the vehicle.
No, you said 4 got in the car is what your statement is, not go back.
Sustained.
What doors opened up when the car left? Any?
Last time. Answer the question, please.
I can't, as I sit right here, specify the exact doors that opened, sir.
All right. Well, you know Tyler Robinson obviously was not in the car when he was running away, right?
No, he was not in the car when he was running away.
And you can't see him come out of the car at all, can you?
I absolutely saw him get out of the car. Yes, sir.
What door did he get out of the car?
The rear passenger side door.
You saw that door open?
Yes, sir.
You're serious?
It swings open and he runs out. Yes, sir.
You can see that?
Yes.
Okay. Does he fall on the floor like he testified in court?
I can't specifically see that.
I don't know if he... So you believe, based on your detective work, that he was in the car when he got shot and possibly got shot on the way out too, right?
Oh, I never said that, sir. I can't determine exactly when he got shot, exactly where he was, whether he was in the car, out of the car, getting out of the car. I can't say that specifically.
Tyler Robinson never told you he was on top of Chris Lowe trying to duck for cover, did he? Laying on top of him?
I don't believe he said he was laying on top of him to me. He did say
was my
that they
question.
were.
He didn't tell you that, did he?
I don't think so. You're right.
Okay. And if he got hit by bullet fragments that hit an intermediary target, do you know what an intermediary target is?
Explain that to me. No, sir.
All right. Well, if a bullet goes through a car, we heard testimony from people who've been doing this a long time saying that's an intermediary target. And then the bullets fragment.
I still don't understand what an intermediary target is.
All right, well, that's fine. Are you aware that little fragments hit Tyler Robinson? Little bullet fragments after going through the car? You don't know that.
That would make sense, but
Yeah, it would make sense he was in the car or out of the car maybe. The bullets are going through the door and hitting him. We don't know, right?
I don't know. No, sir.
Wouldn't that be important to try to figure that out if he's telling you or trying to tell this jury that he's laying down in the car and he gets shot and then he gets out of the car? Wouldn't that be important to look for blood to see if Mr. Robinson's blood's in the car, to see if his story makes sense?
Blood being or not being in the car doesn't necessarily confirm or refute a story.
All right. Well, if I get shot numerous times standing right here, hopefully I don't, but let's say I do.
Hope not, sir.
I stand right here, okay, and no one's in this courtroom but the person who shot me. Okay, and I'm standing here. You don't think there'd be some blood around the podium, around the floor where I'm standing? Or if I'm laying down, wouldn't it be on the floor or the seat or something? Or sitting down?
There may be.
You didn't find any blood, right, in the back seat. You told us that.
You're right.
You didn't consider that, did you? Or you considered everything?
Consider what, sir?
What I'm talking to you about. You didn't even think like that, right? Wasn't even a thought in your mind. How in the world did he get shot in the car and there's no blood in there?
Well, as I said before, we don't know whether he got shot in the car, as he got out of the car, or completely out of the car. What we do know is that he was shot, and it is not always that somebody immediately begins bleeding when they're shot. That doesn't happen all the time.
Okay, so you have a medical degree to tell this jury when somebody like Mr. Robinson, how he would bleed or not bleed. You're telling us that maybe he wasn't bleeding when he got shot? That's your testimony? You know that?
I said none of those things. I'm most certainly not a medical professional. What I said was based on my training and experience, and I've seen many, many people who have been shot alive and dead, and based on where it is, they don't immediately start gushing blood like they do on TV, is what I'm saying.
All right, how many people did you actually witness get shot in person? 0, right?
Get witnessed shot immediately?
You never witnessed a person get shot immediately right in front of you?
No, sir.
How can you tell the jury they don't start bleeding immediately or not if you don't see that?
Because I've seen victims of crimes who were, or just people who were shot in different areas, and even at the time that I see them, which is not immediately after they were shot, they're not bleeding a lot.
Okay. You can't tell this jury, based on the wounds of Tyler Robinson, whether he would have been bleeding when he got shot or not. You have no clue, do you?
I can't say that definitively, absolutely not.
Can't say it at all.
Can't say what?
Said definitively. I'm saying you absolutely can't say whether he was bleeding or not when he got shot.
I cannot make that determination, no.
Why is there blood drops on the car?
Where?
Outside, rear panel, driver's side.
I'm not sure.
You know about that?
I'm not recalling that off the top of my head, no, sir.
Did you ever have that tested?
No, sir.
You don't think it's important to know whose blood that is?
I don't know what you're referring to, sir.
You don't even have a clue there was blood drops found on the car, right?
There were blood drops found on the car, yes, sir.
The outside of the car, not inside, outside.
On the outside where the decedent was, yes, sir.
There was blood found on the outside of the car where the decedent was.
Yes, upon opening the door, there was blood, like, in the door jamb, I guess.
I'm talking outside. Not in the door jamb when nobody could humanly see, unless you have x-ray eyes. I'm talking when you're outside the car.
I don't know what you're specifically referring to.
Specifically wondering why you didn't test DNA from the outside of the car. Or you can't test something you don't know about, right? You didn't know about it.
You were saying blood, now you're saying DNA. I don't know what you're specifically referring to, sir.
I'm trying to talk to you about the truth. Do you know if there was blood on the outside of the car on the rear quarter panel of the driver's side?
Not as I sit here, no, sir.
And you had 2 years to prepare this case, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you didn't know that there was blood there, you certainly didn't test it, right, for DNA?
Certainly not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Right. How about the blood drops in, there was a stanchion number 40. There was blood drops that we heard about, and 41, right near the oil slick. You know about those?
If you're going to refer to specific stanchions, you're going to have to show it to me, sir.
Said, you know about blood drops by the car?
By what car?
Well, there's only one car in play in this case, so
By the Cadillac on 40th and Broadway?
nope. Let me be specific. At the crime scene at 550 Teak or around the corner from there.
Okay. There was a trail of what we, again, like I said yesterday, called BLS. There was a trail of that, yes, sir.
All right, and it was on the road, right? As well as the pathway to where Tyler Robinson ran.
Portions of it, yes, sir.
You didn't test any of the stuff on the road to find out whose it is, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay. Don't you think that's important to do if somebody comes into a courtroom and possibly feigns that they've lost their memory to really know from physical evidence whose DNA it is? Well, that doesn't matter.
Again, nothing doesn't matter. However, if we have no reason to believe that the blood belongs to somebody else, we're not going to test it.
Okay. Same thing with the gun, the 9mm gun. No reason to test that, right? For DNA.
Correct.
You didn't charge. Well, do you know that Tyler Robinson was basically brought here by 2 police officers in November of 2021 to give a statement in open court?
I was not aware he was brought by 2 police officers.
Okay. You never looked into charging him with perjury for lying in a courtroom over and over, did you?
No, sir, I wasn't present for that.
No one, and you didn't bother finding out about that, right?
Well, it's not about bothering or not bothering. I wasn't present for it.
It's your case. How come you don't know about it?
No. I wasn't present for it. I didn't witness it
Why not?
because I can't.
Well, afterwards, no one told you about it?
I heard general information, but not specifics, and certainly nothing that I would be able to charge anybody with.
Okay. So do you absolutely look into it? Did you absolutely not look into this?
I did not look into it.
Do you have any evidence to absolutely disprove that Sebastian had a firearm in his pocket? Do you have any evidence to disprove that, ma'am?
I cannot say that I unequivocally can disprove that he had a firearm in his pocket.
You wish you could, right?
I would love if I could unequivocally disprove many things.
Sure. Yeah, you can't unequivocally say under oath, absolutely say under oath, that Keyshawn Jones didn't have his firearm with him when he went up to 550 Teak Drive. Isn't that true, ma'am?
Well, for the most part, I can't unequivocally say anything. So, no, I can't say that.
You have no evidence to disprove that he had a firearm hidden that we couldn't see. You can't disprove that, can you?
I can't prove it either.
That's always my question. Can you disprove it?
No, I can't.
Did you see Tyler Robinson's gun in that video anywhere on his person?
No, I could not.
Well, he claimed he had it in his pocket. You don't know if he had it in his pocket or not, do you?
I couldn't see from the Ring video, no, sir.
All right, and if he may have pulled that gun out on the side of the house or on the front lawn, you can't prove that happened or didn't happen, can you?
You're right.
The black T-shirt on there, you never on the front lawn. You never took DNA from that, right?
I did not.
Well, you didn't. Well, it was taken, but you never
Correct.
had it examined to find out whose DNA is on that shirt.
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you happen to go to a private high school?
Are you asking?
I remember questioning along this lines. Overruled at this point.
I'm not asking you the name. Did you go to a private high school?
I did not.
Did you go to an all-girls school?
I did not.
But no one ever took their shirts off to get into a fight where you went, right?
No, sir.
Okay. How do you know that firearm, the 9mm firearm, the Taurus that was dumped by a fence by Tyler Robinson, how do you know Sebastian Jean Jacques' DNA is not on there?
I don't.
How do you know Keyshawn Jones his DNA is probably on there because he sold it to him, right?
Not necessarily.
Maybe, maybe not, right?
Correct.
Okay, how about Chris Lowe? Do you know if Chris Lowe's DNA is on that firearm?
I didn't test the firearm's DNA, so I wouldn't.
You don't know.
Correct.
Do you know why Chris Lowe, not in this day, not on April 7th or 6th, do you know why he would have put Keyshawn Jones' phone in his pocket to see if it fit?
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah. I'm not talking about the 6th or the 7th of April 2021.
Okay.
Before that, do you know why Keyshawn Jones would take, now let me backtrack. Do you know why Chris Lowe would take Keyshawn Jones's firearm and put it in his pocket to see how it fits?
I don't know why he would do that. No, sir.
You never heard that before, do you?
I have not heard about that. No, sir.
You don't know if that's true or not. It's just me telling you. Right?
I don't know if he put somebody else's phone in his pocket. No, sir.
This is the first time you're hearing that, right?
Yes.
Do you ever run records to see if do you have any way of knowing if Sebastian Jean Jacques ever bought a firearm?
We talked about this yesterday. No, sir. I can't look up records like that.
If I tell you right now you can go on your cell phone and check stuff like that, would you don't know about that?
To check what firearms a specific person has purchased?
You have ability as law enforcement officers to check databases, don't you?
Absolutely.
All right. Did you ever try going on your computer and checking out who bought what gun?
Well, there, to my knowledge, is not a database where I can look up that specifically.
Okay. And you can't subpoena anybody to do that either, right?
I don't believe that's possible, from my understanding of the way that works.
So when I go to a store with my concealed weapons permit and buy a gun, and it puts the serial number and they check my background and all that, where does that paperwork go?
Your background?
No, the serial number, my name, copy of my concealed weapons permit. Where does that go? Do you know?
So when you purchase a firearm, each firearm retailer is required to keep records of the firearms that they sell. They have to keep it forever. The only time that that information would go elsewhere is if that retailer closed, at which time all those records would go to Tallahassee. But otherwise, each individual retailer is the custodian of the gun sale records.
That's not exactly true, because you know if someone buys a gun, there's a background check done, right?
Well, I do know there's a background check done when somebody legally purchases a gun, yes, sir.
And you put the serial number, the shop that's selling the gun puts the serial number of the gun, all the identifying information about the buyer. If they have a concealed weapons permit, they put that on there. Where's that go to? Do you know?
Well, the background check, my understanding, goes to Tallahassee.
Okay. So do you know that the serial number is also put down and what type of guns are being purchased?
It may.
You don't know that?
I don't know if that information is provided to Tallahassee, but what I do know is that I do not know of any database where I can just look up who buys what guns.
Okay. Did you ever try to do that? Subpoena those records at all to see if you can match up when a gun was purchased or who bought it?
Well, I certainly didn't do that because, to my understanding, that doesn't exist.
Okay. Did you ever ask your bosses about that?
I did speak with a coworker of mine who is very knowledgeable in that area.
You ever call ATF, in charge of alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and ask them, hey, I'm curious, guys, I need to figure out if anyone has a gun or where they bought it or when they bought it. You ever do that?
No, I haven't.
You know what a straw man purchase is?
What is a straw purchase?
Straw man purchase, they call it. I'm not making sex, it's going to be a straw woman. Do you know what that is?
I've never heard of a straw man purchase. I've heard of a straw purchase.
Okay. And I'm not talking about a drinking straw. I'm talking about someone buying a gun and then selling it to someone right after. So there's no waiting period. That's illegal, right?
That's not necessarily what a straw purchase is, but
Okay, well, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you don't know, because that's a federal offense, not a state offense, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so, but you know that if I go into a store with my friend and I buy a gun, because I have a concealed weapons permit, I get it right then and there, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, as soon as the background comes back from Tallahassee, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And wouldn't it be true that a straw man is then I take that gun and the same day I sell it for $1 to my buddy who doesn't have a concealed weapons permit, so now the waiting period doesn't exist. I just sell it to him. That's a federal crime. That's a straw man purchase, right?
I'm not a federal law enforcement agent, sir.
That not a straw man purchase, so you don't have a clue?
I'm not going to make a comment on that, sir. I'm not sure.
Did you ever call a federal agent to ask him to check out the gun that was sold from the same exact day it was purchased from Keyshawn Jones to his buddy, Tyler Robinson?
No.
Never dawned on you that that could be a crime?
Well, as I said before, I'm working a homicide. I'm not looking for each and everything that I could possibly charge somebody for.
You got tunnel vision. Anything else that someone may have done who's a witness, I don't care. I'm a homicide detective. I don't care if it's a straw man purchase. I don't care if it's tampering with evidence. I don't care if it's carrying a concealed firearm. I don't care if it's perjury. I'm a homicide investigator. That's all I'm focusing on, right?
I never said that I would only focus on that. I never said that I have tunnel vision. I never said that I don't care. In fact, I said that I quite the opposite, do care.
Are you too important to then work on those type of situations on other cases that all you were trying to do is solve homicides?
Most certainly not.
You didn't charge anybody in this case with anything other than Mr. Rudolph, correct?
Correct.
You never even tried to speak to Terry Nee Coleman, did you?
I did not know.
Well, I did not. Are you inferring that someone else did from your department after this case took place to find out what was on her phone? I'm trying to find out if you talked about the phone messages and the calls.
Objection, that was not the question. Asked whether or not anybody's
I'll state it better,
All right.
Judge.
Thank you. Rephrase.
All right, after April 7th, April 8th, April 20th, February of 22, you never reached out to Ms. Coleman and say, what was Dominique telling you on the phone, right?
Correct.
Did you ever ask Tyler Robinson why he put his phone in the car?
I didn't ask that specific question.
Well, I think you did. And do you remember him telling you that he put it in the car because he didn't want to lose it during a fight?
Well, we were talking in more general terms. We did discuss why items were put in I think I was specifying the trunk of the car, but in the car in general. And he did say that he was concerned that the conversation would result in a fight, so they put their valuables in the vehicle to ensure that they didn't get hurt.
But then you didn't follow up and ask him if you didn't want to lose your phone, why did you bring your gun with you? You never asked him that, did you, ma'am?
I didn't ask that specific question, no, sir.
Well, unspecific. Did you ask him anything generally like that, or absolutely not?
I didn't.
Absolutely not, right?
Correct.
You ever check if there's hospital signs on the path that these young men drove on?
I did not.
Why not?
I'm not sure what I would gain via evidentiary value in doing that.
You might disagree with some of your evidence, right?
I don't know how that would, sir.
Okay. You don't even know if they told the truth that they GPSed the hospital on a phone, right?
I don't know that specifically, if it was done on the phone.
You don't know it at all, do you, other than they told you that?
Correct.
They tell you how they GPSed it? On whose phone, or if it was the car GPS?
No.
Do you know why they didn't call 911 when they first left? Did you ever ask that?
I know that they said their focus was more so on getting Sebastian to the hospital at that time.
That was what Keyshawn told you, right?
Yes.
Not what Chris Lowe told you.
Keyshawn told me that, the driver of the vehicle.
Chris Lowe said he made the call right away, right? To 911 on the way out.
I don't know if he said it right away.
Okay. Before they came to their final resting spot, right?
I don't know.
You would agree physical evidence in any criminal case, especially a homicide, is not friends with anybody, right? They have no motive. A physical evidence doesn't have a motive to lie, right? It is what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. That gun is not anybody's best friend, right? Any of these guns here, right?
I don't believe inanimate objects are friends. No, sir.
Of course not. Physical evidence is what it is if you find it, isn't it?
Yes.
Why it's important in every case to get all the physical evidence you can so a jury could make a decision if there's a trial, right?
I get evidence, I receive evidence based on having information that evidence would exist. Yes, sir.
Well, do you agree it's important that you're checked? In other words, the police are checked by members, we the people of the public, to make sure you did your job right. That's why we have trials, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's why it's important to get everything you possibly can before you rush to judgment. Do you agree with that?
Well, it's important to get all of the evidence you can get based off of the information that you have. Yes, sir.
And you said you go in as a blank slate, so you would agree with this statement. It's important not to rush to judgment on any case, right?
Absolutely.
You didn't make any mistakes in this case, according to your testimony, right?
I most certainly would not say that. I am not perfect.
You arrested a guy who could be innocent, didn't you?
Based on the evidence I have, I don't believe that's true.
You have no way of knowing if Tyler Robinson had a gun pointed directly at his face and his brother's face from 15, 20, 10 feet away. You don't know if he did that, do you?
You're right. I also don't have evidence that he did.
You weren't there. How could you see it? Right?
Well, that's why I rely on evidence.
Yeah. Hopefully you do.
I
You have,
absolutely do.
You have no video to show that didn't happen, do you?
Nope. I also have no evidence that it did.
And you have no evidence that Sebastian Jean Jacques, you can't disprove that he had a gun pointed at the windshield facing DJ, Darryl Rudolph, and Travis Rudolph moments before he was killed. Can you?
Correct. There's also no evidence that he did.
In your mind. You didn't sit through this trial, did you?
I have no evidence that he did.
Did you sit through this trial?
No, sir.
You telling this jury there's no evidence that's possible?
That's not what I'm saying.
You don't know that based on what your investigation showed. That was your opinion, right?
What I said was that I don't have any evidence that he did. I can't base my investigation off of what could have happened. I base my investigation off of the evidence I have, and I follow the evidence like I've said from the beginning.
Why didn't you do a thorough investigation?
I did do a thorough investigation, sir.
You never found out who someone named Hack or AP is until February of 2023, right?
Correct.
You can't explain to this jury why Tyler Robinson's texting somebody else, well, 5:50 Teak Drive, someone named Hack, right at 11:40, 11:50 p.m., roughly around that time. You have no clue why he's inviting someone or giving them that address for whatever reason, right?
I can't say that, no.
You don't know if he was ordering Uber Eats or he was ordering another friend to come help do something to Mr. Rudolph. You don't know.
Well,
You don't know that, do you?
I would know if he was ordering Uber Eats, but the basis of his question, no, I don't know that for sure.
And if you would have had this information, if you would have had Tyler Robinson's phone earlier, maybe you didn't want to do it, but maybe I could have figured this out, or someone else who cared could have figured it out who Hack was and why he was given that address, right?
Sustain. It's
It took you 2 years to get that information. Almost 2 years, right?
Yes.
How in the world can somebody recreate 2 years later what's going on to find out where Hack was? You didn't get Hack's phone, did you?
No, I did not.
You got it, and it would be triangulate to see if he showed up to 550 Teak or right around that area, wouldn't it?
It would also be illegal.
It would be illegal to get a phone as a detective. You could do a search warrant, or you can just go there and knock on his door and say, hey, can I see your phone? Right?
So in order to just take somebody's phone, I have to have probable cause to do so.
They can give you consent.
I
right?
suppose that's true. Correct.
You don't think that's probable cause? That he was probably involved in this incident? If he gets an address from a man who's carrying a gun, whatever you think he did or didn't do, and he texts this guy named Hack, right before this incident happens, he texts him Mr. Rudolph's address. You don't think that's probable cause for a judge to say, okay, go figure this out. That sounds like he might be involved. Of course that's enough. That's more than enough, ma'am. You would agree with that, right?
No.
You didn't even try, did you?
I did not.
How do you know it's not enough? If you don't try, how do you know?
Because I'm aware of how my job works, so I know if I have probable cause or if I don't have probable cause.
You're not aware of anything that you could say with certainty about search warrants. If you don't attempt to do it, you would have no clue if it would be granted or not.
If I don't believe that I have probable cause, I'm certainly not going to just arbitrarily write a search warrant and hope for the best. I can't do that in good faith. If I don't believe I have probable cause, I am most certainly not going to write a search warrant.
Yeah, because it might affect your investigation and disagree with you're trying to claim your alleged victims are innocent men. So it might disagree with that, right, ma'am?
No, because if I believe that I don't have probable cause, I cannot in good faith try to get a warrant anyway.
You knock on the door and say, hey, let me see your phone. Can you give me consent to search your phone? You didn't try that either, did you?
No, I didn't.
You could subpoena phone records. Even if you didn't believe there was probable cause, you could subpoena phone records and find out triangulation where this phone belonging to someone named Hack may have been on the night of the homicide. You could do that.
So I can't just subpoena somebody's phone records, that kind of information. That would have to be through a different type of search warrant, which I also did not have probable cause to obtain.
That's not true. You can get a subpoena from the prosecutor's office, ma'am. Isn't that true?
I cannot get a subpoena to show, cell data information. No, that's specific information that's required by warrant.
That's not true, is it?
I believe so.
Did you try? Did you call up Miss Adrienne Ellis and say, can I get a subpoena for those records? Did you try to do that?
No.
You didn't care, did you? You didn't care about Hack or 550 Teak Drive. That meant nothing to you, right?
There's never a point in this investigation that I didn't care about anything.
Well, if you didn't care, if you cared, why wouldn't you do a little follow-up, 5 minutes, a half hour? Why didn't you do more work if you really cared?
Because the things you're asking me why I didn't do them, I didn't believe I had a legal basis to do so. So I'm not going to violate somebody's rights by trying to get information.
How about my client's rights? Doesn't he have a right to a fair trial?
Absolutely.
That's not what you want to give him, is it?
Of course, that's what I want to give him.
You didn't care from the moment you got on the scene. You're trying to make a name for yourself. Isn't that true?
Absolutely not, sir.
You never subpoenaed any social media from any of the players in this case, did you?
No, sir.
People make calls on social media. They text messages on social media that may not be on the phones. WhatsApp's not contained on somebody's phone. Why wouldn't you try other alternatives to see if any of these people said anything else or did anything else to see the truth? Why didn't you do it?
Because I can't just ask for people's social media records. I have to have probable cause to obtain them, which I did not have.
That's BS. You had probable cause. You know that, ma'am. You had probable cause for everyone involved in this case. You said you got search warrants for their phones. Why couldn't you do social media? Why are you trying to say you couldn't do that?
Because I did not have probable cause to do so.
What did Chris Lowe send Dominique, Keyshawn, Tyler? What TikTok video did he send right before this homicide?
I don't recall off the top of my head.
You wouldn't know because you never tried to get it, right?
No, I don't recall off the top of my head.
Well, you know there was a TikTok message sent, right?
Yes.
A video.
Yes, that's what TikToks are.
Yeah, wouldn't that be kind of important for a jury if he sent a video saying somebody's house burned down or a drive-by shooting or something representing violence? Wouldn't you want to know that?
There's lots of things I'd like to know, sir.
Well, what attempt did you make to get that, ma'am, where you didn't have probable cause?
None legally, so none.
So you don't know if someone named Hack was at or near 550 Teak Drive at the time of this homicide, do you?
I don't.
Who's AP? Who is that?
I believe. May I refer to my records?
Yeah, sure.
Pardon me.
That's somebody who was referred to from Tyler Robinson's phone records when you got him, right?
Yes, sir. I believe that was somebody named Alex.
What do you have to do with this case?
Aside from showing up in the records, I did speak to him.
You did not?
I did.
Alex who?
I don't have the last name.
What's Hack's name?
I'm sorry?
What's Hack's real name? Hack.
I don't know.
Why not?
Because that's not something that I know.
You know why AP got texted an address 550? Or did he get a text at 550 Teak Drive?
One of them did. I'm not sure if it was AP or Hack. I know that there was a text message.
Okay. You never heard from Chris Lowe that he helped beat up DJ or Daryl closer to the vicinity of the black Cadillac, did you?
No.
You never heard Chris Lowe that he sucker punched Travis Rudolph while Sebastian Jean Jacques was fighting with him. He went and joined and sucker punched Travis Rudolph. You never heard that, did you?
Well, I knew there was a fight, but those specific maneuvers, no, I don't.
And I'm talking right before the moment of truth when the homicide occurs. You have no knowledge at all, as you're sitting here, that Travis Rudolph was not near his home. He was closer to the Cadillac than his home, and he was being beaten up by or fighting with Sebastian Jean Jacques. You don't know. You never heard that, right?
Well, based on the ring video, it appeared that everybody who was on the front lawn moved to the street, so I guess technically that would be closer to the Cadillac. But those specific maneuvers, like I said, I can't testify to.
Well, that'd be important to know what happened the whole night and the whole day, but it would also be important to know what happened moments before the actual shooting. Wasn't it, Detective?
Yes.
All right, so you never heard anything about Sebastian Jean Jacques fighting with Travis Rudolph closer to the vehicle near Sable Palm Drive?
Not specifically, no.
And you never heard that Chris Lowe was by the car with Keyshawn Jones, and Chris said, I'm not going to give him a fair fight. I'm going to go help Sebastian, and went over and sucker punched my client's brother in the face or in the head.
I never received any information of the sort.
That's important, isn't it?
It would be, absolutely.
You have no idea what Travis Rudolph saw down the block, what he was looking at. Let me finish the question. When he came out of the house with his firearm, you don't know what he's looking at, if anything, down the end of the block of Redwood.
Opening the door to something he does not want. Objection.
I'll move on, Judge.
All right.
There comes a time you don't see my client looking down, my client going down the block. There's no camera view of that, right? The Ring camera loses him.
The Ring camera loses him, and then Mr. Nash's camera picks up.
Doesn't show him coming down Redwood. It shows him when he starts shooting, and maybe a second before, right?
And it shows him walking down, yes.
You can see him from the corner of Teak and Redwood walking down the block from Mr. Nash's camera.
I didn't say that.
You see him just a moment before the shooting starts, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know if he ran down the block to save his brother, if he walked down the block to save his brother who's getting beat up by two men, because you never heard that before. So you would not have any information about why the defendant, who you charged, Travis Rudolph, with murder, you don't know from the physical evidence in the fight why he physically walked down or ran down the block, do you?
What I do know is that his brother was behind him when he began shooting.
I'm going to ask you that. Well, let me ask you this: when Mr. You just agreed you never heard anything about Sebastian fighting with Darrell Rudolph down the block closer to the car by Sable, and you never heard Chris Lowe joined in 2 against 1. You never heard that, so you don't know where Darrell is, do you? At that moment.
Objection, compound question.
Sustained.
Do you know where Darrell Rudolph is? Well, assuming he's getting beat up, because that was the testimony in the courtroom. There was 2 guys fighting him. Where was he?
I know there was a fight in the front yard. I'm not going to guess what the other witnesses stated, sir.
You don't know, right? You don't know where he was. I'm asking, do you know where he was? I'm not asking you to guess. I'm asking if you know.
If I know where he was when, sir.
When he was getting beat up by 2 men. Right by the car area on Sable. Where was he?
Well, I hear what you're telling me where he was, but I can't say precisely where he was.
Okay. So you have no way of disagreeing that if the testimony was that 2 people were fighting with Darrell Rudolph near Sable Palm on Redwood, near a tree or near Sable Palm, you have no way of knowing if that's true or not true because you never heard any of that in your investigation, right?
I was never provided that information, no, sir.
Okay. You know, as a law enforcement officer, if someone's in fear of death or serious bodily harm from themselves or their brother, they have a right to act accordingly. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
On April 7, 2021, during your 10-minute interview with Keyshawn Jones, isn't it true that he told you he was going to chill with his friends, Chris, SB, who you know is Sebastian, and Tyler? Isn't that true?
I believe you said something along those lines, sir.
Chill, right? What's chill mean to you?
Spend time with, hang out with.
Okay. You asked him what kind of gun Travis Rudolph had, and he told you he wasn't looking, he was driving. Remember that?
I'm sorry.
Still talking about Keyshawn.
Oh, okay, yeah, clarify, please.
Thank you. Keyshawn, right? That's what he told you. I wasn't looking. I was driving.
I don't recall if he said those exact words.
Well, what? I'll show you his statement to refresh your memory. My approach?
You may.
Actually, look at your report, or I'll show you a deposition. Either one. You think to refresh your memory, or you want to see it?
I was not present for his deposition or for his testimony here.
Statement he gave you.
You're talking about a transcript of the statement that he gave me?
Yes, ma'am. Your statement that you took under oath that was recorded. Your 10-minute conversation.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever seen
You had indicated you were going to show me a depo, and I'm not going to testify to a depo.
transcript?
A transcript of my conversation with him, yes, sir.
Okay. You don't have that, right?
I don't know, sir.
All right. Let me show you.
Sure.
I'm pointing, and I'll bring it right to you. Page 8. I'll turn it. Page 8, line 6 to 7. Oh, wrong one. This one. This is your. Hang on, Mike. And this.
Thank you.
Copy of your statement that you took on April 7th, 2021 of Mr. Jones.
Yes.
I'm directing your attention to line 6 and 7.
Yes. I asked what kind of gun was it, and he said I wasn't looking, I was driving.
What I asked you. So you agree with that, right?
All I heard was shots, yes, sir.
Okay. While you were talking to him on that statement, and you can go to page 12, line 3 and 4, somebody said, "What's going on?" "That's my sister. She's crying."
Did you say page 12?
Page 12. "What's going on?" "That's my sister. She's crying." Was he talking to Dominique Jones while you were talking to him?
No, sir.
What's that about? Because I couldn't make the context of that. If you don't remember, that's fine. If you know, just tell us.
I know she wasn't there, and I know he was in between the questions I was asking him. He was saying things because he was upset and he was distraught.
What is my sister? She's crying. That's my sister. She's crying. What's the context of that?
You would have to ask him specifically. I'm not
You don't
going
remember?
Well, like I said, he was saying things that weren't necessarily pertaining to the questions I was asking him because he was distraught and he was thinking about different things, it appears. So I don't know specifically what he meant by that, and I'm not going to speculate to that.
I'm not asking you to speculate. You were there, not me. Was he talking to her on the phone somehow?
I can tell you no, he was not. He was not talking to her. She was not presently there.
Did you ask him what he meant by "that's my sister, she's crying"?
Well, like I said, he was...
Yes or no? Did you ask him that?
Oh, no, I didn't ask him that.
I'm asking.
No.
Remember asking him if he had a gun, Keyshawn?
Yes.
I'm sorry, if he knew Travis Rudolph had a gun. You want to know if he knew if Travis Rudolph had a gun. Remember asking him that question? Page 13, line 5, he said, "I know Travis Rudolph had a gun." Remember him telling you that? Well, you don't remember that.
He did say, I know he had a gun.
Travis Rudolph. That's the context of that, right?
Yes.
All right, and then he told you, but nothing crazy. It's like, we all got guns. Remember him saying that?
Yes.
And then he claimed his gun was at home, right?
All right, stop using pronouns. Make sure we know, the jury knows who the he is or the him is.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Keyshawn Jones told you that his gun was home, right?
Yes, he said, like, I have a licensed gun, my gun's at home.
And then you asked him if you guys had guns, and he said, nope, we didn't have no guns with us. Remember that?
He said, my gun is at home. I didn't come here for violence. I came here to talk to him.
Further on, did you ask him? He told you that nobody had guns, right? Page 13, if you don't remember. Do you remember him telling you none of us had guns? I'm not asking you to read that. I'm asking you to if you remember.
I'm not going to say specifically without reading.
Was that the gist of it?
I'm not going to speculate as to the gist without reading.
Okay. So you can't tell this jury that Keyshawn Jones said none of us in the car had a gun. You have to read it to remember that?
Well, the reason I'm not going to answer that specifically is because I can't recall whether he was definitive in his answer or if he said, I don't think so. I would need to read the exact words
Right.
before I'm going to testify to
Page
that.
13, line 25, page 14, line 1.
Thank you. What he said, what I said. So none of you guys had guns with you? And his answer was, no, we didn't have no guns. I said, okay. And he
Well, I asked
said,
it. Did he say no guns?
but he said something after that that's
That's what the
pertaining to
prosecutor
that.
can ask you that on redeck if they want.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking you if he told you we had no guns. That was a simple question. That's why I don't want you to read that. We'll be here all day. I'm just trying to find out what if he said we had no guns or not.
Sustained.
All right, this is real specific on page 14, starting on line 6. Isn't it true that Keyshawn Jones told you it was quiet until he came into the street, and then I heard gunshots? It wasn't no shots from us, and he's shooting back.
Yes.
You never asked him what shooting back meant, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Last topic, I promise. 9/30/21 was the next time you did anything in this case after April 7th, other than giving your deposition and doing your original reports? Talking about your supplements, your follow-up.
I would have to refer to my supplement to be able to say that. Is that all right?
Yeah, if you need to.
Okay.
September 30th, 2021. Was that the first time you did any kind of supplements in this case?
No, that's not correct. No. So my first supplement spans from everything I did from the date of the homicide to April 16th of 2021, and then my next supplement is April 18th of 2021.
I'm talking about after I did. Let me be more clear. I'm losing my track here.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry. So I took your deposition, remember, in September?
Yes, September 30th of 2021, yes.
And I had whatever you gave the state at that time in Discover. I had a copy of everything that you gave them, right? As far as you know.
I would certainly hope so, yes, sir.
Sure, except for some of the things we talked about, right?
Yes.
Okay. So after that, did you do any follow-up?
After September 30th of 2021?
Yes, Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I mean, be more specific. Let's talk about what you did after
Okay.
that day, or even on September 30th, 2021.
After September 30th. My next supplement is on October 1st.
You did one on September 30th too, right?
I did one on September 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
I have the 3rd, I have the 13th, I have the 22nd, and then October 1st.
When did you get the autopsy report?
October 1st.
Oh, okay. So that's 10-1, not September 30th?
On Friday, October 1st of 2021. That's how that supplement starts.
All right. You just put that as part of your case file, right? You didn't do any follow-up from getting the autopsy report, correct?
Follow up on the autopsy report.
You didn't do anything after that. You just took the autopsy report and you put it part of your case file, right?
I provided it for evidence, yes, sir.
Of course, but I'm saying you didn't do further work to do anything in this case based on the autopsy report.
I don't know what you would be referring to, sir. I'm not a medical
Okay.
doctor.
Sometimes people get autopsy reports and they say, wow, I missed this. I got to go check this out. Or I'm going to go talk to the doctor. Or I'm going to go get another statement. I'm just saying you didn't do any follow-up based on the autopsy report. That's all I'm
No,
asking.
sir. No, sir.
And you did supplement number 27 on 12/15/21, right?
It's okay that I refer to my report.
Please, it's hard to remember,
Okay.
of course.
Yes.
That was the next time you did something after getting the autopsy report, in this case. 12/15/21.
That was the next time I supplemented, yes, sir.
Okay, and you would supplement every time you do something of any relevance or significance in a case so you can keep track, because obviously 2 years later you can't remember every day and every minute of what goes on, so you write detailed reports, right?
Correct. However, a lot of what we do is waiting for things to come back, waiting for phones to come back, as we've learned in this case, waiting for many things to come back. So just because I didn't specifically do something didn't mean that I didn't have something in the works at that time.
Okay. You weren't waiting for any DNA to come back, right?
No, sir.
You weren't waiting for any experts to enhance that video, were you?
Oh, no, sir.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
All right, so the next time you did a supplement was December 15th, 2021, right?
Yes, sir.
And what you did that day is you basically took the night owl, the DVR, and the power cord and placed it into evidence, right?
Yes, I was documenting the chain of custody for the night owl. Yes, sir.
So you rely on Detective Farron to try to get video from that camera, right?
Yes, sir.
Y'all, meaning you never try to hire an outside expert who may not be related to the police department or may have more degrees or more knowledge to check that camera system out to see if maybe there was video, but it was not readily available, that we need to check it out further. You didn't do that, did you?
Well, Detective Farron,
I'm asking if you did that.
I didn't need to. No, sir.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Didn't even think of doing that, right?
I didn't need to, like I said. So, no, I didn't do
Wasn't
that.
even a thought.
As I didn't need to, no, that wasn't a thought.
You don't think someone else might need to do that or want to see that if it's possible? You ever think of that?
Objection, Judge?
What's the legal objection?
Counsel is aware that would be impossible.
No, I'm not. I disagree.
All right. Sure. Feel free to stand up and stretch, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to obey 3 of the 4 cardinal rules. Okay, you may continue. Yes, sir.
All right, so you put the night owl and any of the guidebooks that were found with it, and you put the cords and all that into evidence, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then the next thing you did was on April 5th. From December 15th, the next supplement you did was April 5th, 2022, correct?
The next supplement, yes, sir.
And at that point, you released Mr. Rudolph's car, right?
Yes, sir.
The one with the broken windshield.
Yes, sir.
And the next thing you did after April 5th, 2022 was January 27th, 23. So nothing else after April 5th, 2022, correct? In terms of supplements.
I just want to make sure. I know I was told to reference when I'm going to look at my notes. It's okay that I do that? Okay.
Please.
That was the next supplement. Yes, sir.
All right, so from April 5th, 2022, nothing of significance was done in this case until January 27th of 2023, right?
Well, I still had things that I was waiting on, like I referred to before, but I didn't have anything to report until that time. Yes.
So, simple question. Nothing of significance was done after April 5th, 2022 until January 27th of 23. Yes or no?
Nothing that I was able to report. No, sir.
Okay. So you agree with that?
Or correct. Yes, that was the next time I did a supplement.
All right, so January 2023, a few months ago, that's when you finally, you did more stuff and you documented things with phones and medical records right after that from Tyler Robinson, right? You did things with phones and medical records, right? Well, you received things from phones, right? I'm not asking you whose phone, I'm just asking you that you received information about downloads of phones. Or a phone.
Yes.
All right, and you also received Tyler Robinson's medical records at that point, right?
And again, I'm referring to my notes. Well, I noted that I authored the search warrant, and it was submitted.
I'm sorry, on January 30th, 2023, you authored it January 27th, 23, the warrant, and then you get it 3 days later, right? The medical records from Tyler Robinson.
Well, the supplement you're referring to doesn't say that I received it, but I mean I did receive it. It's just not in that specific supplement, I don't think.
All right, it's probably supplement 33 that you did on January 30th, because that says you received it that day. If you look at that one.
Okay, so you're skipping that. Yes.
Okay. So basically, the next couple of months, you looked at some more phones and looked at the data, who called who, right? Text messages from different people, different phones, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you did a couple more supplements about Robinson's phone, right?
Yes, sir.
But there was no other interviewing of witnesses during this time period, September 30th, 2021 until today, right?
Correct.
Remember Chris Lowe telling you during, it's on page 40, well, I can show you where it is if you don't remember. Do you remember Chris Lowe telling you that Tyler never got in the car right before the shooting?
I believe both Keyshawn and Chris thought that he never made it to the car.
Have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
I have nothing further, thank you.
All right, so I'm informed that the ladies and gentlemen of the jury need a break. We'll take a